So, whatever happened to that classic 1981 epic fantasy adventure film, Clash of the Titans? Let's find out. Movies,
music, and monsters.
Hey guys, Dan Monroe here, talking about movies, music, and monsters. Oh man, Clash of the Titans. This was definitely one of my all-time favorite films back when I was 13 years old. Having already fallen in love with Star Wars 4 years earlier, this film was seriously right up my alley. With a cool story, awesome special effects, and some really freaky monsters. You know, honestly, I have to admit that as a kid growing up, I was never really a fan of mythology at all. I mean, having grown up with some of the classic monsters like King Kong, Mighty Joe Young, the Valley of Gwangi, I was super into stop-motion animation, mostly because that's all there was back then. And I'm pretty sure that this was one of the very last movies that really focused on stop-motion animation at all, and in a way that's kinda sad. Not taking anything away from The Nightmare Before Christmas, but come on, these were monsters. At any rate, Clash of the Titans was super cool, and still is. So let's dive in. The cast of this film was nothing less than unbelievable. I mean, come on, Laurence Olivier, Maggie Smith, Burgess Meredith, huge Hollywood names right there. And I'd be more than interested to find out just how much of the film's budget actually went to casting decisions. And of course you have the anatomically perfect hero types as the leads with Harry Hamlin and Judy Bowker. Definitely the hero's journey set in mythology, well, loosely set in mythology, but definitely a very fun movie to watch. Now, the idea and concepts of the film came from British playwright and screenwriter Beverly Cross. In 1978, 3 years before the film was released, Andor Films submitted a copy of the script to the British Board of Film Classifications, which is basically the same as the ratings board here in the US. This is weird. In the original script, the Kraken at the end of the film literally tearing the Pegasus horse into pieces, and originally Andromeda was supposed to appear completely nude at the end of the film. I don't know, doesn't seem that bad to me. But the British Film Board said no way, and thus rapid changes were made. It's kind of interesting that Columbia Pictures was initially set to distribute Clash of the Titans, mostly because they were the ones who distributed all the other Ray Harryhausen films. But at the last minute, they dropped the project, claiming that it was simply too expensive. So then the producers took the concept to Orion Pictures. But get this, Orion said they would only pick up the film if Arnold Schwarzenegger played the lead. Could you imagine? I'll be back to kill the Kraken. I mean, I like Arnold Schwarzenegger, but come on. Anyway, after that idea was tossed, they pitched the film to MGM, who eventually agreed to finance the project, and actually they were more than enthusiastic and excited about the film in general. The producer, Charles H. Schneer, deliberately went after really well-known actors to play the gods to try to improve the film's chances at the box office. And surprisingly, all those scenes with the gods only took 8 days to film. Claire Bloom said she only agreed to be in the film because Laurence Olivier was in it, which certainly wasn't a bad career move on her part. Burgess Meredith was awesome in the part of Amon, even though MGM originally wanted British actor John Gielgud to play the part. That would certainly have been interesting. You know, I always thought it was super creepy in those scenes where Andromeda was in her bed and that giant bird showed up, constantly disrupting her sleep. You know why she had such problems sleeping, don't you? Well, it's because she didn't have any of the products by today's sponsor, Manta Sleep. I don't know about you, but one thing that drives me crazy, especially when traveling in hotels or visiting relatives with lousy curtains, is the fact that I can't sleep. But with Manta Sleep, you're guaranteed 100% darkness so you can sleep better anywhere, anytime. These masks are not only incredibly comfortable, but come in a wide variety of colors with really cool features like built-in headphones with Bluetooth, weighted masks, masks made from pure silk, heated masks, cooling masks, and a whole ton more. What's even cooler is you can use the coupon code Monroe to save 10% on your order. Check it out. Link in the description. So give your sleep a real boost and head over to their website and give Manta Sleep a try. As you can see, I did, and you know what? These things really work. Okay, nap time is over. Back to Clash of the Titans. This is kinda weird. Apparently, Rex Harrison was asked to play the part of God Poseidon. But he rejected the role because he thought the part was just too small. Guess he was holding out for Dr. Dolittle Part 2. The two leads were actually romantically involved at the time of the production. Big surprise. They even had a son named Dimitri who was born in 1980, right after the film was completed, but before the film hit theaters in 1981. Speaking of Harry Hamlin, he originally wasn't their first pick for the role of Perseus. Initially, they were looking at actors like Malcolm McDowell, Richard Chamberlain, and even Michael York. Michael York was awesome in the Island of Dr. Moreau video. On that coming soon, stay tuned. Despite being mostly added for sex appeal, Ursula Andress, who had top billing on the poster, surprisingly only had one line in the film. I guess she was good to look at, not so much to listen to. This is weird, but apparently Laurence Olivier was extremely ill during the making of the film and would often go to his co-star, Pat Roach, to, and I quote, borrow some energy from you. Gods borrowing energy from each other. There's a cool concept for a movie. Pat Roach was not only the god who created Bubo the Owl, but he was also the guy who beat the crap out of Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark. There is no way to talk about this film without discussing the unbelievable genius of Ray Harryhausen, who did all the stop-motion effects in this film.
Well, it all started because I saw a film, King Kong. I felt this is what I wanted to do, and I turned all my efforts toward that end. I started making my own models, and then I got a camera, a 16mm camera, and did some experimentation in my back garage. And then it gradually developed from a hobby, so to speak, to a profession.
Back in the day, stop-motion animation was actually referred to as Dynamation, and this guy literally got his start working as a young mentor with Willis O'Brien on Mighty Joe Young. You know Willis O'Brien, like King Kong? A couple of months ago, I did a deep dive video all about the production of King Kong. Check it out. Link in the description. Ray Harryhausen was the king of Hollywood special effects for years, starting with his first color film, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, followed by Jason and the Argonauts. I guess my point is that anybody who was a fan of fantasy or monster movies back in the day, whether they knew it or not, was heavily influenced by the mastery of Ray Harryhausen. And sadly, Clash of the Titans was his last film before he retired. But man, what a catalog. The creatures in this movie were awesome.
The Medusa character seems to be one of the favorites of many fans that have written to me. I had to redesign her so that she had a serpentine body, so I gave her a rather demonic look. We gave her a rattlesnake's tail so that she could be a menace from the sound effect point of view.
We had Pegasus the flying horse, the incredibly spooky Calibos with his stop-motion vulture, an amazing rendition of Medusa, those really creepy two-headed monster dogs that really freaked me out when I was a kid, obviously the Kraken at the end of the film, and everybody's favorite little sidekick, Bubo the Owl. There were actually 4 different Bubo the Owls used in the creation of this film. The largest was 40 centimeters and was remote controlled by off-camera prop people to interact with the actors on set. The next was a slightly smaller 30-centimeter stop-motion version of the owl that you would see when he was being animated, but not flying. Then there was a 10-centimeter model that was used for the flying shots, and the smallest of the Bubos was only 4 centimeters long and could be seen flying along the stomach of the Kraken at the finale of the film. That is a lot of Bubos. The large mechanical version of Bubo was thought to be lost for years until Andy Johnson, who was a friend of the Harryhausen Foundation, discovered this incredible prop buried away in Harryhausen's own garage. How cool is that? You know, when the film came out, there was a lot of criticisms that Bubo was just a cheap ripoff of R2-D2, even though Ray Harryhausen, who was also the producer of the film, claimed that the concept of the mechanical owl came long before Star Wars in an idea for a possible sequel to Jason and the Argonauts. That is freaking wild. Either way, I like R2-D2, I like Bubo, so whatever. Now, as much as I hate even having to acknowledge the existence of this unbelievably dreadful remake of Clash of the Titans in 2010, Bubo the Owl did make a very brief appearance in the film for about 3 seconds, which to me was the only good 3 seconds in the entire film. This is interesting, and I never knew this, but apparently the Calibos character didn't appear at all in Greek mythology. His character in the film was based on Caliban, the antagonist created by William Shakespeare in 1611 for The Tempest. One thing I absolutely loved about a lot of these older films was the fact that they actually went out on location and filmed. The Stygian Witches rock formation was in Spain, and they used the Azure window in Gozo, Malta for the backdrop of the final battle at the end of the film with the Kraken. These days, forget it. We'll just set up a green screen. We'll do it digitally. This is cool. The full-size 3-foot model of the stop-motion Kraken still exists and is currently in the Berlin Museum. As far as all the other stop-motion puppets from the film, I'm almost positive they do still exist, although I'm not really sure where. If you know, let me know. Clash of the Titans was released on June 12, 1981, and grossed a whopping $6.5 million in its opening weekend, just behind Raiders of the Lost Ark. The film had a worldwide gross of over $70 million and was one of 1981's biggest theatrical hits. Not too shabby for 1981. Critically, Roger Ebert gave the film 3 out of 4 stars, calling it, and I quote, "a grand and glorious romantic adventure filled with brave heroes, beautiful heroines, fearsome monsters, and the awe-inspiring duels to the death." Wow. Finally, a decent review from Roger Ebert. However, on the flip side, Variety magazine called it an unbearable bore of a film that will probably put you to sleep in the first 30 minutes. God. Critics. Well, Clash of the Titans came and Clash of the Titans went, but that certainly wasn't the end of this really cool franchise. This would have been so awesome. According to Ray Harryhausen's official website, a sequel to Clash of the Titans called Force of the Trojans was pitched to MGM in 1984, but sadly nothing became of that whatsoever. And believe it or not, there were some pretty cool Clash of the Titans toys. Mattel put out a whole bunch of figures like Perseus, Calibos, and even a giant Kraken toy. and apparently they were planning on making a large-scale Bubo the Owl toy, but sadly that never happened either. And what would any classic 1980s franchise be without the amazing metal lunchbox? Well, we had one of those too. Later on, in 2007, there was a 4-issue comic book miniseries called Wrath of the Titans, which was part of the Ray Harryhausen signature series, which picked up the story 5 years after the events of the film. Kinda cool, Harry Hamlin reprised his role as Perseus for the video game War of God 2 in 2007. And even though Clash of the Titans was a moderate financial success, the continued impact by stop-motion genius Ray Harryhausen is nothing less than legendary. Spanning years of special effects mastery with such epic titles as The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, It Came from Beneath the Sea, 20 Million Years to Earth, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, Jason and the Argonauts, 1 million years BC, and so many more. We could be here all day, but that, my friends, is the topic of another video. I really hope you guys enjoyed that deep dive into Clash of the Titans, and if you did, and you like this kind of stuff, please consider subscribing to the channel. I've got a whole ton of new videos coming out really soon that I know you guys are just gonna dig. As always, if you have any questions, drop them down in the comments and I will try my best to answer them for you. And please feel free to stop back anytime as we continue our conversation on movies, music, and monsters. Movies,
Music and monsters.